The alarm bells rang through the research station at exactly 0600 hours. Juno opened his eyes and stared at the metal ceiling of his small room. Another day on Drakkar Prime, a planet so far from Earth that the sun looked like just another star in the sky. He had been here for 3 months now, studying alien creatures that most people only saw in horror movies. Juno was a xenobiologist, which meant he studied alien life forms. He was 28 years old, with dark hair that always fell into his eyes and a smile that made people trust him. Back on Earth, his professors said he was too soft for this work. They said he cared too much about the creatures he studied. But Juno believed that was exactly what made him good at his job. He got dressed in his standard gray uniform and walked the cafeteria. The station was small, home to only 43 humans who had volunteered to live millions of miles from home. The walls were white and cold, and everything smelled like recycled air and coffee. Miho, the station commander, was already eating breakfast. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and gray hair at his temples. He ran the station like a military base, with rules for everything. Next to him sat Hannah, the medical officer. She was Juno's only real friend here. She had kind eyes and always saved him the good coffee. "Morning," Juno said, sliding into the seat next to Hannah. "You look tired," Hannah said, pushing a cup toward him. "Bad dreams again?" Juno nodded. For the past week, he had been dreaming about the Draconites. They were the dragon-like creatures that lived on this planet. Nobody had ever seen one up close and lived to tell about it. The Galactic Council had strict rules about them. Rule number 1, stay away from their territory. Rule number 2, never, ever touch a Draconite, especially their babies. "Today's survey mission is in Sector 7, Miho announced to the table. "We'll be close to the northern mountains. That's near Draconite nesting grounds, so everyone stays alert. Taehyun will lead security." Taehyun looked up from his food. He was a security chief, a man who saw danger in everything. His hand was always near his weapon, and he trusted aliens even less than he trusted the station's coffee maker. "If we see any Draconites, we leave immediately," Taehyun said. "No exceptions. No heroics. These creatures have destroyed entire military fleets. One of them could kill all of us in seconds." Juno had heard the stories. The Draconites were ancient, powerful, and incredibly territorial. They had wings that could create storms and claws that could cut through starship hulls. But Juno had also read the old reports, the ones that most people ignored. Some researchers believed the Draconites weren't monsters. They were intelligent, maybe even more intelligent than humans. But fear had built walls between the species, and nobody wanted to be the first to try climbing over those walls. The survey team left the station 2 hours later. Juno sat in the transport vehicle next to Hannah, watching the strange purple landscape rush past. Drakkar Prime was beautiful in an alien way. The plants were blue and silver, and the sky was always filled with 3 small moons. "You're quiet," Hannah said. "What are you thinking about?" "The Draconites," Juno admitted. "What if we're wrong about them? What if they're not the monsters everyone says they are?" Hannah sighed. "Juno, some things are dangerous whether we understand them or not. The rules exist for a reason." The vehicle stopped at the edge of a rocky valley. Miho's voice crackled through their communication devices. "Everyone out. We're collecting soil samples and plant specimens. Stay in pairs. Nobody wanders off alone." Juno worked alongside Hannah, collecting samples and scanning the strange rock formations. The work was boring but necessary. Understanding this planet meant understanding everything on it, from the smallest plant to the largest predator. Then Juno heard it, a sound like wind chimes mixed with crying. It was faint, coming from deeper in the valley. He looked around. Nobody else seemed to notice. "Did you hear that?" he asked Hannah. She shook her head, focused on her scanner. "Hear what?" The sound came again, louder this time. It was definitely crying. Something was in pain. Juno's feet moved before his brain could stop them. He walked toward the sound, climbing over rocks and pushing through the blue plants. Behind him, he heard Hannah calling his name, but the crying was getting louder, more desperate. He found the nest hidden behind a large boulder. It was made of twisted metal and branches, built into the side of the cliff, and inside, barely visible in the shadows, was a small creature. Juno's breath caught in his throat. It was a draconite baby, but nothing like the monsters from the stories. The baby was about the size of a cat, with scales that should have been bright and colorful but were dull and gray. Its wings were folded against its tiny body, and its eyes were closed. It was crying, a sound so sad that Juno felt his heart break. The baby was alone, abandoned, dying. Footsteps behind him made Juno turn. Miho, Taehyun, and Hannah had followed him. They all stared at the nest with wide eyes. "Step away from it," Miho ordered. His voice was hard. "Right now, Juno." "It's dying," Juno said. "Look at it. It's just a baby." "It's a draconite," Taehyun said, his hand on his weapon. "Its parents could be nearby. If they find us here, we're all dead." "Then where are they?" Juno asked. "This baby has been here for days, maybe longer. Nobody's coming back for it." Miho's face was like stone. "We have protocols, Juno. We can't interfere with alien species, especially dangerous ones. We leave. Now." The baby opened its eyes. They were golden like sunlight, and they looked straight at Juno. The baby reached out one tiny claw, trembling as if asking for help. Juno made his decision in that moment. He stepped forward and picked up the baby dragon, wrapping it in his thermal blanket. The baby was cold, and so light that it felt like holding air. "Juno, no!" Hannah gasped. "Put it down," Miho commanded. "That's an order." Juno held the baby close to his chest. He could feel its tiny heart beating, fast and weak. "I'm not leaving him to die. I don't care about protocols. I don't care about rules. This is a baby and he needs help." Taehyun moved forward, but Miho held up his hand. The commander stared at Juno for a long moment. "You understand what you're doing? You're breaking galactic law. You're putting everyone on this station at risk. If the Draconites come looking for that creature, they'll destroy us all." "Then they'll destroy me," Juno said quietly. "But I'm not putting him back in that nest to die alone." The baby made a small sound, almost like a purr, and pressed closer to Juno's warmth. For the first time in days, it stopped crying. Miho's jaw tightened. "Get back to the transport. We'll deal with this at the station." "But Juno, mark my words, you just started something that could end us all." As they walked back to the vehicle, Juno looked down at the small dragon in his arms. The baby's scales were already starting to brighten slightly from the warmth. Its golden eyes watched Juno with complete trust. "I've got you," Juno whispered. "I won't let anyone hurt you." Behind them, the empty nest sat silent in the shadows. And high above, something large moved through the clouds, wings spread wide against the purple sky. But by the time anyone looked up, it was already gone. The medical bay became Juno's prison and his sanctuary all at once. The moment they returned to the station, Miho had ordered the entire area sealed. No one could enter or leave without permission. Juno sat on a metal chair, still holding the baby dragon wrapped in his blanket. The little creature had not left his arms since he picked it up. Hannah moved around the room, scanning the baby with various medical devices. Her face was worried, and she kept glancing at the locked door. "His temperature is too low," she said quietly, "and he's severely malnourished. Juno, I don't know if I can save him. I've never treated a draconite before. Nobody has." Juno looked down at the baby dragon. He had decided to name him Baram, which meant wind in Korean. It felt right somehow. Baram's scales were still dull, a pale silver instead of the bright colors that draconites were supposed to have. His wings were thin, almost transparent, and his breathing was shallow. "We'll figure out," Juno said. "We have to." The door slid open with a hiss. Miho walked in, followed by Taehyun and 3 other security officers. The commander's face was hard as stone. He looked at Juno the way someone might look at a criminal. "The Galactic Council has been informed," Miho said. "They want the creature surrendered to their containment facility immediately. A transport ship will arrive in 48 hours. "No," Juno said simply. Taehyun stepped forward. "You don't have a choice, Juno. This isn't your pet. It's a dangerous alien that could grow up to destroy entire cities. The Council knows how to handle these creatures. Handle them? Juno felt anger rising in his chest. You mean lock them up and study them like objects? Bahram isn't dangerous. He's a baby who was left to die. We don't know why he was left, Miho said. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe the Draconites knew something we don't. Hannah cleared her throat. Actually, Commander, I've been looking at the medical scans. There's nothing wrong with this baby except malnutrition and exposure. He's healthy, or he will be with proper care. That's not the point, Miho snapped. The point is that we have rules. Rules that keep us safe. Rules that prevent wars. If the Draconites discover we took one of their young, they could see it as an act of aggression. He was abandoned. Juno stood up, careful not to disturb Bahram. Nobody was coming back for him. I watched him for 10 minutes before I picked him up. That nest was old, cold, and empty. His own people left him to die. You don't know that, Taehyun said. Maybe they were hunting. Maybe they were planning to come back. For days? Juno shook his head. Look at him. He's been alone for days, maybe longer. If his family wanted him, they would have come back by now. Miho's expression softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. I understand you care about this creature, but you're risking 43 human lives for one alien baby. That's not a choice you get to make alone. Then put it to a vote, Juno said. Ask everyone on this station. Let them decide. The commander was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. Fine. We'll hold a vote tomorrow morning. Until then, you and that creature stay in this medical bay. Taehyun will post guards outside. If you try to leave, you'll be restrained. Understood? Juno nodded. He didn't plan to leave anyway. Not without Bahram. After they left, Hannah locked the door from the inside and leaned against it. You're crazy, she said, but she was smiling. Absolutely crazy. I know, Juno admitted. He looked down at Bahram, who was finally sleeping peacefully. But I couldn't leave him. I just couldn't. Hannah walked over and gently touched Bahram's tiny head. The baby dragon made a small sound, like a cat purring. I've never seen anything like this, she whispered. Draconites are supposed to be aggressive, territorial, violent, but he's so gentle. Maybe we were wrong about them, Juno said. Maybe everything we think we know is based on fear, not facts. They spent the next hours trying to figure out what Bahram needed. Hannah analyzed his biology and discovered that Draconites needed minerals that weren't in normal food. Juno crushed vitamins and mixed them with protein paste, creating a thick liquid. At first, Bahram refused to eat. But when Juno held the spoon to the baby's mouth and spoke softly, Bahram opened his eyes and took a small taste. Good boy, Juno whispered. That's it, just a little more. Slowly, carefully, Bahram ate. It wasn't much, but it was something. His scales seemed to brighten just a tiny bit, and his breathing became stronger. Night came to the station. Hannah fell asleep in a chair, exhausted from the long day. Juno stayed awake, holding Bahram and watching him breathe. The baby dragon had wrapped his tail around Juno's arm, as if afraid to let go. I won't leave you, Juno promised quietly. Whatever happens, I won't let them take you away. Bahram opened one golden eye and looked at Juno. In that moment, Juno felt something strange. It was like a warm feeling in his mind, not quite thoughts, but something close. He could sense Bahram's emotions, fear mixed with hope, loneliness mixed with the beginning of trust. The next morning, the entire station gathered in the main hall. Juno stood at the front, still holding Bahram. The baby dragon looked around at all the humans with wide, curious eyes. Miho addressed the crowd. You all know why we're here. Juno broke protocol by taking a Draconite baby. The Galactic Council wants the creature surrendered, but Juno has requested that we vote on whether to keep it here or send it away. This is highly irregular, but given the circumstances, I'm allowing it. Taehyun stood up. If we keep this creature, we risk everything. The Draconites could attack us. The Council could shut down this entire station. We could lose our jobs, our careers, maybe even our lives. Is one alien baby worth all that? Several people nodded. Juno could see the fear in their eyes. He didn't blame them. They were right to be scared. But then a young researcher named Ohian raised his hand. I've been reading about Draconites all night. Did you know that nobody has ever tried to communicate with them peacefully? Every encounter has been hostile because we assumed they were monsters. Maybe this is our chance to change that. An engineer named Yuna spoke up next. I came to the station because I wanted to explore, to learn, to make contact with new species. If we send that baby away out of fear, what does that say about us? What does that say about humanity? More people began to talk. Some agreed with Taehyun. Others agreed with Do-hyun and Yuna. The hall filled with voices, arguments, debates. Then Hannah stood up. I'm a doctor, she said loudly, and everyone fell silent. I took an oath to preserve life, any life. That baby was dying when Juno found him. He's alive now because Juno had the courage to help. If we send him away, we're saying that some lives don't matter, and I can't accept that. The vote was close. 22 people voted to keep Baram. 21 voted to send him away. Miho looked at the results and sighed deeply. The vote is decided, he announced. The creature stays. But Juno, you are personally responsible for him. If anything goes wrong, it's on you. Juno nodded, relief flooding through him. Thank you, all of you. But as people filed out of the hall, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed. Taehyun ran to a computer terminal, his face going pale. Commander, he said, his voice tight. We have a ship approaching. A big one. Identify it, Miho ordered. Taehyun's hands shook as he read the screen. It's a Draconite warship. The entire room went silent. Everyone turned to look at Juno and the small dragon in his arms. Baram made a tiny sound, pressing closer to Juno's chest. The Draconites had come, and nobody knew if they were here to retrieve their baby or to destroy everyone who had touched him. The Draconite warship was massive. Through the station's windows, it looked like a mountain floating in space. Its hull was covered in dark scales that seemed to move and shimmer. Wings extended from its sides, each one larger than the entire research station. Everyone stood frozen, watching the ship approach. Juno held Baram closer. The baby dragon had gone completely still, his golden eyes wide and staring at the approaching vessel. For the first time since Juno had picked him up, Baram seemed afraid. What do we do? Yuna whispered. Her voice shook. Miho's face was pale, but his voice stayed steady. We follow protocol. Taehyun, open a communication channel. Let them know we mean no harm. Taehyun's fingers moved across the controls, but they were trembling. Channel open, Commander. A voice filled the station, deep and resonating like thunder. The translation device struggled to convert the alien sounds into words. Human station. We detect our young. Return him immediately. Miho looked at Juno. The commander's expression was complicated, mixing anger with something that might have been sympathy. You heard them. This is your last chance to make this right. Juno looked down at Baram. The baby dragon was shaking now, pressing his face against Juno's chest. Juno could feel that strained connection again, could sense Baram's terror. Not terror of the humans, but terror of a ship outside. Something's wrong, Juno said quietly. He's scared of them. Of course he's scared, Taehyun snapped. There's parents. He doesn't know them, but they're here for him now, and we need to give him back before they destroy us. No, Juno said. The word came out stronger than he expected. I need to talk to them first. I need to understand why they left him. Are you insane? Taehyun moved toward Juno. They don't owe you an explanation. Give them their baby before they kill us all. Miho held up his hand, stopping Taehyun. The commander stared at Juno for a long moment. Then he spoke into the communication device. This is Commander Miho of the Human Research Station. We request permission to speak with you face to face. We have questions about the young one. Silence filled the station. Everyone held their breath. The Draconite ship hung in space, not moving, not attacking, just waiting. Finally, the voice spoke again. You dare to make demands? You take our young, and then ask questions? Humans are foolish. Please, Juno said, stepping closer to the communication panel. I'm the one who found him. He was alone, abandoned in a nest. He was dying. I just want to understand why. More silence. Juno's heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. Baram made a small sound, almost like a whimper. Very well, the voice said at last. One human may come to our ship. Only one. If you try to deceive us, your station will be destroyed. Miho closed the communication channel and turned to Juno. Absolutely not. I'm not sending you over there. It's suicide. I have to go, Juno said. They'll answer my questions. And maybe, if I can make them understand, they won't hurt anyone. Or they'll kill you the moment you step on their ship, Taehyun said. This is exactly the kind of stupid heroic nonsense I was afraid of. Hannah grabbed Juno's arm. He's right. You can't go over there. Let someone else go. Let Miho go. They want to meet the person who took their baby. Juno said. That's me. And besides, Baram trusts me. If I'm going to give him back, I need to know he'll be safe. You're not his parent, Miho said quietly. You've had him for less than 2 days. I know, Juno said, but I'm all he has right now. And I promise him I wouldn't let anyone hurt him. 20 minutes later, Juno stood in the station's airlock, wearing an environmental suit. Baram was wrapped in a special carrier against his chest, designed for small animals but working well enough for a baby dragon. Through the carrier's clear front, Baram watched everything with wide eyes. If anything goes wrong, Miho said to the communication link in Juno's helmet, get back to the airlock immediately. We'll seal it and try to defend the station. Nothing will go wrong, Juno said, trying to sound confident. He didn't feel confident. His hands were shaking and his stomach felt like ice. The airlock opened. A small transport pod from the Draconite ship had attached itself to the station. Juno stepped inside. The pod was dark and warm, much warmer than the human station. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, and the air smelled like burning spices. The pod detached and moved toward the warship. Through the small window, Juno watched the research station get smaller and smaller. He wondered if he would ever see it again. The pod entered the Draconite ship through an opening in its side. When the door opened, Juno stepped out into a massive chamber. The ceiling was so high, he couldn't see it in the darkness. The walls were covered in the same dark scales as the ship's exterior, and they seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting slowly. 2 Draconites waited for him. They were enormous, each one at least 20 feet tall. Their scales were deep red and gold, shimmering in the dim light. Their wings were folded against their backs, but Juno could see they were powerful enough to create hurricanes. Their eyes glowed like fire, and their claws could easily tear through metal. But it was their faces that surprised Juno. They weren't monster faces. They were intelligent faces, ancient faces, faces that held wisdom and sadness. I am Elder Vel, the larger Draconite said. The translation was clearer now, coming through speakers in the walls. This is Kira, our warrior leader. You are the human who took our abandoned young. My name is Juno, he said. His voice sounded small in the massive chamber. And yes, I found him. I found Baram. Baram? Kira moved closer. Her voice was sharp. You named him? You dare to name a Draconite? I had to call him something, Juno said. He forced himself not to step back, not to show fear. He needed a name. He needed care. He needed someone. Elder Vel tilted his massive head. Show us the young one. Juno opened the carrier. Baram looked up at the 2 giant Draconites and made a small, frightened sound. He pressed against Juno's chest, trying to hide. He fears us, Vel said quietly. He should not fear his own kind. He doesn't know you, Juno said. He was alone for so long. I need to know why. Why was he left in that nest? Why did nobody come back for him? Kira's eyes flashed with anger. You question our ways? You, a human who has existed for mere thousands of years, question a species that has lived for millions. Yes, Juno said simply. I do, because that baby was dying. And I can't give him back if you're just going to leave him again. The chamber went completely silent. Both Draconites stared at Juno as if he had said something impossible. Then Elder Vel made a sound, deep and rumbling. It took Juno a moment to realize the ancient creature was laughing. "You're either very brave or very foolish," Vel said. "Perhaps both." "Very well. We will tell you the truth. The young one was not lost. He was not forgotten. He was abandoned on purpose." Juno felt cold. On purpose? Why? Kira spoke, her voice hard. "Look at his scales. They are pale, weak, wrong. In our culture, young ones born with such defects are left to die. It is our way. It has always been our way. The weak do not survive. Only the strong continue our species." "That's horrible," Juno said. The words came out before he could stop them. "He's not weak. He's just different. And you left him to die because of something he can't control?" "It is tradition," Vel said. "It is survival. It is necessary." "No," Juno said. His voice was shaking now, but not with fear. With anger. "It's wrong. He's a baby. He deserves a chance to live. He deserves a family. He deserves love." "Love." Kira stepped closer, looming over Juno. "You speak of love for a creature you have known for 2 days? You would risk war between our species for a defective child." Juno looked down at Baram. The baby dragon was looking up at him with those golden eyes, full of trust. And Juno knew what he had to say, even if it meant he would never leave the ship alive. "Yes," he said clearly. "I would, because he's not defective. He's perfect, and I'm not giving him back to people who think his life doesn't matter." The silence that followed was so complete that Juno could hear his own heartbeat. Both Draconites stared at him. Then Kira bared her teeth. "Then you are a fool," she said, "and you will die a fool's death. But first, you will prove your words. You will face the trial of fire. If you survive, the young one is yours. If you fail, we take him back and destroy your station. Do you accept?" Juno didn't hesitate. "I accept." The chamber transformed around Juno. The walls began to glow with orange and red light, and the temperature rose sharply. He could feel sweat forming under his environmental suit. Baram made a worried sound from inside the carrier, and Juno gently touched the clear front to comfort him. Elder Vel's massive form moved to the side of the chamber. His voice echoed through space. "The trial of fire has 3 challenges. Each one tests a different aspect of strength. Physical strength, mental strength, and the strength of your bond with the young one. Many Draconites have failed these trials. No human has ever attempted them." Kira circled Juno slowly, her claws clicking on the metal floor. "You can stop this now. Give us the young one and return to your station. We will let you live. This is your last chance to choose wisdom over foolishness." Juno looked down at Baram. The baby dragon's golden eyes were watching him, trusting him. "No," Juno said quietly. "I'm not backing down." "So be it," Kira said. She moved to stand beside Elder Vel. "Let the first challenge begin." The floor in front of Juno split open. A long corridor appeared, stretching into darkness. But this corridor was filled with fire. Plasma flames shot up from vents in the floor, creating walls of intense heat. The flames moved in patterns, rising and falling, leaving small gaps of safe space that appeared and disappeared. "The fire walked," Elder Vel announced. "You must cross to the other side. If the flames touch you, your suit will fail and you will burn. The young one must stay with you. If you leave him behind, you fail." Juno stared at the corridor. The heat was so intense he could feel it even from where he stood. His suit was designed for space, not for walking through fire, and he had to carry Baram through this. "This is impossible," he whispered. "For most, yes," Kira said. Her voice held no sympathy. "That is why it is a trial." Juno took a deep breath. He checked the carrier, making sure Baram was secure. Then he stepped toward the corridor. The heat hit him immediately, so strong it felt like a physical force pushing him back. He could barely see through the shimmering air. He took his first step into the corridor. A wall of flame shot up to his right, so close he felt his suit's sensors screaming warnings. He stepped left, then forward, watching patterns. The flames followed a rhythm, rising for 3 seconds, falling for 2. Another step, another flame. Juno's heart pounded. He was 10 feet into the corridor now, with 30 more to go. Sweat ran down his face, stinging his eyes. The carrier against his chest was getting warm. Too warm. Baram made a sound, a small cry of distress. Juno looked down and his heart nearly stopped. The carrier's material was beginning to melt at the edges. Baram was in danger. "I'm sorry," Juno gasped. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." He moved faster, trying to outrun the flames. But the patterns were getting more complex, harder to predict. A wall of fire erupted in front of him. He stopped just in time, but another flame shot up behind him. He was trapped between two walls of plasma. Then something amazing happened. Baram pushed against the front of the carrier with his tiny claws. The material gave way, and the baby dragon squeezed out. He spread his small, thin wings and flew up to Juno's shoulder. "Baram, no!" Juno said. "Get back inside where it's safe." But Baram didn't listen. As another flame shot toward them, the baby dragon spread his wings wider. A gust of cool air pushed the flame away, just enough for Juno to move forward. Baram was protecting him. "You can control wind," Juno whispered in amazement. "Baram, you're incredible." They moved together through the corridor. Each time a flame came too close, Baram created a small wind to push it back or redirect it. The baby dragon was tired. Juno could see that. His wings trembled with effort, but he didn't stop. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, they reached the end of the corridor. Juno collapsed on the cool floor on the other side, gasping for breath. Baram landed on his chest, wings drooping with exhaustion. From across the chamber, Juno heard murmuring. The two Draconites were talking to each other in their own language, too fast for translators to keep up. They sounded surprised. Eldervel's voice filled the chamber again. "The young one should not have been able to do that. Wind control does not develop until adolescence. Yet he protected you. This is unusual." "This is proof of strength," Kira added, though her voice was less harsh now. "The young one is not as defective as we believed. But the trial is not over. The second challenge awaits." The floor beneath Juno began to rise, forming a platform. In front of him, a strange device appeared. It looked like a helmet made of crystal and metal, with wires extending from it like tentacles. "The mind link," Eldervel explained. "You must connect your thoughts with the young one's thoughts." Draconites use this bond to communicate across vast distances, to share knowledge and memories. No human has ever successfully linked with a Draconite mind. The attempt alone could damage your brain permanently. Juno looked at the device, then at Baram. The baby dragon was still tired from the first challenge, but his golden eyes were alert and watching. "What happens if I fail?" Juno asked. "Your mind breaks," Kira said simply. "You become an empty shell, and we take the young one back." Juno reached out and gently stroked Baram's head. The baby dragon made that purring sound again, pressing into Juno's touch. "I trust you," Juno whispered to him. "Do you trust me?" Baram looked up at him and chirped softly. It sounded like yes. Juno picked up the helmet. It was heavy and cold. He placed it on his head and immediately felt a tingling sensation across his scalp. A smaller version of the device appeared for Baram. Juno carefully placed it on the baby dragon's head. "Begin when ready," Eldervel said. Juno closed his eyes and pressed the activation button on the side of the helmet. The effect was instant and overwhelming. His mind exploded with sensations that weren't his own. He felt heat and cold at the same time. He felt the sensation of flying even though he was sitting still. Colors he had never seen before filled his vision. Sounds that human ears couldn't hear echoed through his thoughts. It was too much. His brain couldn't process it all. He felt himself starting to slip away, losing his sense of who he was. The alien sensations were drowning him. Then, through the chaos, he felt something small and warm. A presence. Baram's presence. And with it came memories. Juno saw through Baram's eyes. He felt what Baram had felt. He experienced the cold of the abandoned nest, the hunger that gnawed constantly, the loneliness, the terrible crushing loneliness of being left behind. Days and nights blurred together, each one colder than the last. Baram had called out for his family, but no one came. He had thought he was going to die. Then warmth. Sudden, unexpected warmth. Strong arms lifting him up. A voice speaking words he didn't understand, but that sounded kind. The fear melting away, replaced by something new. Something Bahram had never felt before. Safety. Care. Love. Juno felt tears running down his face. "I'm so sorry," he said out loud. "I'm so sorry you were alone for so long." Through the link, he felt Bahram's response. Not words, but feelings. Gratitude, joy, hope, and something deeper, something that made Juno's breath catch. Bahram saw Juno as family, as his family, the only family he had ever known. The connection stabilized. Instead of drowning in alien sensations, Juno found balance. He could feel Bahram's thoughts and emotions clearly now, and Bahram could feel his. They were linked, truly linked, in a way that went beyond words. Juno opened his eyes and removed the helmet. Bahram did the same, shaking his small head. They looked at each other, and for the first time, they truly understood each other completely. The chamber was silent. Both Elder Vel and Kira stared at them with expressions Juno couldn't read. Finally, Vel spoke. "This is impossible. The bond you have formed, it takes Draconites years to achieve such depth, yet you did it in moments. How?" Juno looked down at Bahram, who was now sitting in his lap. "Because we needed each other," he said simply. "He needed someone to care for him, and I needed to understand him. Love makes things possible that shouldn't be." Kira stepped forward. Her massive form loomed over them, but Juno didn't feel afraid anymore. "There is one challenge left," she said. "The final test. This one is simple but most difficult of all. You must prove true strength." A weapon appeared on the floor in front of Juno. It looked like a spear made of the same crystal material as the helmets. It glowed with inner light. In our culture, Elder Vel said, strength means the ability to hunt, to fight, to survive. Take the weapon. Use it to prove you are strong enough to protect the young one. Juno looked at the spear. Then he looked at Bahram. Then he looked up at the two massive Draconites. And he made his choice. He stood up, walked over to the spear, and picked it up. It was heavy and warm in his hands. Then he walked back to where Bahram waited and gently placed the weapon on the ground. "No," Juno said clearly. "I won't do it." Kira's eyes flashed. "You refuse the challenge? Then you forfeit. You fail." "I'm not refusing," Juno said. "I'm just refusing to prove strength your way." He knelt down next to Bahram, placing his hand on the baby dragon's head. Strength isn't about weapons or fighting or hunting. Real strength is protecting those who can't protect themselves. It's choosing kindness when cruelty is easier. It's standing up for what's right even when everyone tells you you're wrong. He stood up and faced the two Draconites. "I picked up Bahram when he was dying, and everyone told me to leave him. I brought him to my station, even though it could cost me everything. I came to this ship knowing I might never leave, and now I'm standing here, choosing to protect him instead of proving I can hurt things." Juno's voice grew stronger. "That's strength. That's real strength. And if you can't see that, then I feel sorry for you." The silence that followed was so long and so complete that Juno wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Then something unexpected happened. Kira, the fierce warrior, bowed her head. Her voice, when she spoke, was filled with something that sounded like respect. "You have shown true strength, human. Strength we have forgotten." Elder Vel stepped forward, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. For a long moment, he simply stared at Juno and Bahram. Then, slowly, he also bowed his head. "In all my centuries of life," Vel said quietly, "I have never seen such courage from one so small. You have passed the trial of fire. Human, the young one is yours. But know this, by taking him, you have also taken on a burden. The Galactic Council will not accept this. You and the young one are now exiles. You cannot return to Earth. You cannot stay at your research station." Juno felt his heart sink, but he kept his voice steady. "I understand. As long as Bahram is safe, nothing else matters." Kira made a sound that might have been approval. "There is more you should know. We did not come here only for the young one. We came because our people are changing. Some of us no longer believe in the old ways. Some of us think that abandoning our young is wrong. Elder Vel nodded slowly. Kira leads those who want reform, but the traditionalists are powerful. They will not give up our ancient customs easily. A war is coming to our world. Human. A war between those who cling to the past and those who seek a new future. Juno looked down at Baram, who was watching the two giant draconites with curious eyes. What does this mean for Baram? It means he is a symbol, Kira said. He is proof that the young ones we abandon can survive, can thrive. Your bond with him shows that strength comes in many forms. If others see this, it could change everything. Or it could make him a target. Juno said, protective instinct flaring inside him. Yes, Vel admitted. That too, which is why you must leave the sector space. Take the young one far from here. Keep him safe. And perhaps one day when he is grown, he can return and help us build a better world. The journey back to the research station felt different to Juno. He held Baram close, knowing that everything had changed. When the transport pod docked with the station, Miho, Hannah, and dozens of others were waiting in the airlock. Their faces showed relief and worry mixed together. You're alive, Hannah gasped, pulling Juno into a hug. We thought they were going to kill you. They almost did, Juno admitted, but we passed their trials. Baram can stay with me. Miho's expression was complicated. I'm glad you're safe. But Juno, the Galactic Council sent an official order while you were on that ship. You're being charged with violation of interspecies protocol. They want you arrested and Baram confiscated. I know, Juno said. Elder Vel warned me. I can't stay here. I have to leave. Leave. Hannah's eyes widened. Leave and go where? You'll be a fugitive. I'll figure something out. Juno looked around at all the faces watching him. These people had become his friends over the past months. Leaving them hurt, but staying meant losing Baram, and that was impossible. To his surprise, Dohayan stepped forward. The young researcher who had spoken up during the vote looked nervous but determined. I'll go with you. I've been stuck at the station for 2 years, doing the same research over and over. If you're going out into the galaxy to protect Baram, you'll need a pilot, and I'm the best pilot here. Dohayan, you don't have to do this, Juno said. I know, but I want to. You show me something important. You show me that some things are worth risking everything for. Yuna, the engineer, pushed through crowd. You'll need someone to keep your ship running. I'm coming too. This is crazy, Taehyun said, but his voice lacked its usual hardness. You're all throwing away your careers for one baby dragon. Not just a baby dragon, Hannah said quietly. She walked over to stand beside Juno. A chance to do something that matters. I'm going too. Juno felt overwhelmed. You would all give up everything to help me? You gave up everything to help Baram. Yuna said simply, now we're returning the favor. That's what humans do. We help each other. Miho watched this all unfold with an unreadable expression. Finally, he sighed deeply. I can give you 12 hours before I have to report your departure to the council. There's an old research vessel in Bay 3. It's small, but it's functional. Take it. Consider it stolen. I'll report it missing after you're gone. Commander, Taehyun started to protest. 12 hours. Miho repeated firmly. That's all I can give you. Use it wisely. The next hours were a blur of activity. Juno, Hannah, Dohayan, and Yuna loaded supplies onto the small ship. Food, medical equipment, fuel cells, everything they would need for a long journey. Baram watched from Juno's shoulder, fascinated by all the activity. Other crew members came to say goodbye. Some brought extra supplies. Some just wanted to wish them luck. Even Taehyun appeared, carrying a box of emergency rations. I still think you're all crazy, the security chief said, but he pressed the box into Dohayan's hands. But I respect crazy. Stay safe out there. As the time to leave approached, Juno stood in the ship's small cargo bay, looking out at the station that had been his home. Miho appeared in the doorway. I pulled some strings, the commander said. I have contacts in the outer colonies. They're always looking for people willing to do difficult research in dangerous places. If you head toward the Andera system, there's a planet called Haven. They don't ask questions there, and they don't care what the Galactic Council says. You can make a life there. Thank you, Juno said, for everything. I know I put you in an impossible position. Miho smiled slightly. You did, but you also reminded me why I became an explorer in the first place, to discover new things, to make connections with other species, to push humanity forward. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that and just started following rules. He looked at Baram, who chirped at him, "Take care of him, and take care of yourself." The ship launched exactly 12 hours after Juno returned from the Draconite vessel. Dohayan piloted them away from the station with smooth, confident movements. Through the view screen, Juno watched the research station grow smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. Course set for the Andera system. Dohayan announced, "It'll take us about 6 months to get there." 6 months, Hannah repeated. "That's a long time. What are we going to do?" Juno looked at his small crew, then at Baram, who was exploring the ship with excited curiosity. "We're going to plan. Elder Vel said more Draconite babies are being abandoned. Once we're safe, once we have a place to call home, we find them, we save them. All of them." Yuna asked, "As many as we can." Juno said, "Baram deserves to have others like him, and those babies deserve the same chance he got. A chance to live, a chance to be loved." The months of travel passed slowly but peacefully. The crew fell into routines. Dohayan flew the ship and told terrible jokes. Yuna kept all the systems running and built toys for Baram out of spare parts. Hannah monitored everyone's health and started writing a paper about cross-species bonding. And Juno spent every day with Baram, teaching him, playing with him, watching him grow. Because Baram was growing. His scales, once dull and pale, now shimmer with beautiful silver and blue colors. His wings grew stronger, and he could fly around the ship for hours without getting tired. His golden eyes were bright and intelligent, always curious, always learning. The mind link between them strengthened too. Juno could sense Baram's emotions clearly now, could almost understand his thoughts. And Baram seemed to understand everything Juno said, even complex ideas. The baby dragon was incredibly smart. When they finally arrived at Haven, it was exactly what Miho had promised, a rough colony planet where people came to start over. Nobody asked about their past. Nobody cared about Galactic Council warrants. They only cared if you could work hard and treat others fairly. Juno and his crew rented a large building on the edge of the main settlement. They called it the Second Chances Sanctuary. Within weeks, word spread across the colony about the human with the dragon baby. People came to see Baram, expecting a monster. Instead, they found a playful, gentle creature who loved belly rubs and chasing flying toys. 3 months after they arrived, Juno received an encrypted message. It was from Kira. The message was short but important. The civil war among the Draconites had begun. Traditionalists were fighting reformers. And in the chaos, more babies were being abandoned than ever before. "We have to help them," Juno said to his crew that evening. They sat around a table in the sanctuary, Baram sleeping peacefully in a warm bed nearby. "It's dangerous," Dohayan said, "going into a war zone." "Everything we've done has been dangerous," Yuna pointed out, "but we've managed." Hannah nodded. "Those babies need us, just like Baram needed Juno. I say we do it." Over the next year, they rescued 17 more young Draconites. Some were abandoned because of pale scales, others because they were too small or hatched at the wrong time. Each one arrived scared and sick. Each one left healthy and loved. The sanctuary grew. More people came to help, humans who believed in the mission. They built bigger facilities, better equipment. The young Draconites learned and played together, forming a new kind of family. On the anniversary of the day Juno first picked up Baram, the sanctuary held a celebration. All 17 young Draconites were there, along with the crew and dozens of colonists who had come to help over the year. Baram, now the size of a large dog, stood beside Juno as he addressed the crowd. "A year ago, I made a choice," Juno said. I picked up a baby who needed help. Everyone warned me not to. They said it would cause problems. They said it was dangerous. They were right. It did cause problems. It was dangerous. But it was also the best decision I ever made. He looked down at Baram, who looked back at him with those golden eyes full of trust and love. Because that choice didn't just save one life. It started a movement. It showed that compassion matters more than rules. That kindness is stronger than tradition. That love can cross any boundary, even between species. Juno looked around at all the young Draconites, each one unique, each one precious. We gave them second chances. And they gave us purpose. They gave us hope. They showed us that the future doesn't have to look like the past. That night, as Juno lay in his bed with Baram curled up beside him, he received another message. This one made him sit up in surprise. It was from Eldervel. The message said that the reformers were winning the war, that hundreds of Draconites were questioning the old ways, that Kira was leading a movement to change their entire culture, and it was all because one human had refused to leave a baby to die. Juno looked at Baram, sleeping peacefully. The baby dragon's scales glowed softly in the darkness. His breathing was deep and steady. He was healthy. He was happy. He was home. "I picked you up," Juno whispered, "and I never looked back. Best decision I ever made." Baram made a small sound in his sleep, something that sounded almost like agreement. And in the quiet of the sanctuary, surrounded by the gentle sounds of sleeping dragons, Juno smiled. They had changed the galaxy, one rescue baby at a time, and they were just getting started.